This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. The head of Doctors Manitoba is encouraging people to get their bivalent COVID-19 booster shots. A more infectious Omicron subvariant is circulating in Canada now, and the number of people getting a bivalent shot in Manitoba is low. The CBC's Alana Cole reports.
At this Shoppers Drug Mart in Osborne Village, you can walk in or make an appointment for a bivalent COVID-19 booster shot. Their vaccine clinic is open weekends, doing roughly 300 shots a week. But pharmacist Adrian Golawati says it was busier before the holidays.
It was marketed as the fall booster by the Manitoba government. So we did have a lot of patients coming in October, November, and December. And a lot of it was driven by the holidays too, to make sure that people were protected before their family gatherings and gatherings with friends. And that's why we saw that big uptake earlier in the fall.
The latest numbers from the province at the end of last year show 17.5% of eligible Manitobans had received a bivalent booster. A quick check-in in Osborne Village shows why some have.
I have a granddaughter. I have family that are elderly. I see patients. So I want to make sure that I'm protected and that I can protect everyone around me.
And why some haven't rolled up their sleeve for the booster.
It's been a matter of time. There hasn't been a need necessarily for me to get it as everything has opened up.
Work or like those kind of things would influence me. Or if they were proven to be more effective than they currently already are, then I would probably think about it, yeah.
The head of Doctors Manitoba wants a higher uptake. Kraken, the name some have given to a new, more infectious variant, is spreading in Canada. Dr. Candice Bradshaw believes it's already here, though it hasn't been detected yet. She worries what a big wave of infections could mean for hospitals and says getting vaccinated helps minimize everyone's risk.
Kraken may cause mild symptoms in most people, but there's always a segment of the population that's going to be more vulnerable, more at risk, and develop more serious symptoms. And right now, the healthcare system really has no flexibility or tolerance to increase its capacity whatsoever. I would say we're teetering on a very fine edge.
One professor in the Department of Community Health Sciences at the University of Manitoba says more information from the province around COVID-19 and the latest vaccine could help.
You can't expect your population to be doing certain things if you're not prepared to be, as a government, as a public health system, to be providing the kind of, just even some data of what do we even know right now.
And Dreger says, make it easy. For example, bringing vaccines to where people are, like workplaces, can also increase uptake. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The person found guilty of killing Lise Dene has been handed a 7-year sentence. The youth was known to Dene. He cannot be named under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. Dene was found critically injured in her Southdale home in 2019. She died in hospital. In November, a jury found him guilty of second-degree murder. A judge in the case determined it was not a premeditated act, and therefore an adult sentence was not appropriate. 7 years is the maximum sentence for a youth found guilty of second-degree murder. A panel of 3 judges heard arguments today in the Manitoba government's appeal of an order to pay millions of dollars to University of Manitoba professors, instructors, and librarians. Justice Joan McKelvey ruled last year the government interfered in contract negotiations back in 2016. The negotiations between the University and Faculty Association, and that interference, she said, fueled a 21-day strike. The judge found a wage freeze mandate imposed by the province late in the process disrupted those talks and violated the union's charter right to meaningful collective bargaining. She awarded faculty members $19.3 million for lost income due to lower wages and costs related to the strike. The province's legal team admits the wage directive had an impact and keeping it secret was inappropriate, but argued it was an error of law to treat the mandate as a charter breach. They want to see compensation reduced to $1.2 million. The head of the Faculty Association says members are frustrated case is back in court.
Really disappointing that the government can say out of one side of their mouth that yes, they are at fault for having secrecy in the interference of our bargaining in 2016, and on the other hand say that then they shouldn't have to pay us any money that was really the result of our financial losses coming out of the secrecy from that bargaining.
Lawyers for the Faculty Association argue the award of damages is appropriate and just. The appeal court justices will give their decision on this at a later date. A groundbreaking ceremony took place today for a new downtown Winnipeg apartment building. The First Nations-owned development will house post-secondary students who come from up north to get an education. The CBC's Stephanie Cram brings us more on the story.
1, 2, 3.
There we go. Shovels hit the soil where a new downtown apartment will be. The building on Yonge Street promises to be a safe, affordable place for First Nations people coming from northern Manitoba. It's also 100% owned by a Paskwiak Cree Nation.
It is important because it's also an important investment to our nation. The building will provide quality and affordable living for students, young families, and elders living in Winnipeg.
With additional money coming from the province and the federal government's national housing strategy, the building promises 69 units, 40% of them for people with reduced incomes.
Our government believes that everyone across Canada, across the provinces, and of course right here in the city of Winnipeg, has the right to safe and affordable housing, a place to call home.
Located right next to the University of Winnipeg, OCN hopes the apartment building will be the home of future post-secondary students.
When young people leave Opaskwayak Cree Nation and come into the city, we know that that is a point of vulnerability. And we know now that they are going to have a safe place to call home, wrapped in their own community.
With rent as low as $680 a month, which includes essential amenities like utilities and high-speed internet, the hope is that students won't be burdened with the stress of paying rent.
The lower rent would ease the financial stress of Opaskwayak students along with their other Indigenous students. It will allow them to focus on their schoolwork and their career paths and reach their aspirations.
The building also promises to be a leader in green housing.
It is going to exceed the requirements mandated by the Manitoba Energy Code for buildings by 16%, which is very remarkable.
The project is expected to take 18 months to complete and will be available for tenants by the summer of 2024. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Premier Heather Stephenson admits her government's communication with Manitobans has been a weak spot. Stephenson tells CBC News a lot of people don't know what she's done since taking the reins of the province.
It's challenging when people maybe aren't aware of some of the things that we have done, and when we get out, and when I get out in front of people and say, okay, these are the things that we have done, these are the steps that we have taken. We make these announcements, right? But we need to get out in the communities more and let people know what we're doing. And of course, I think that's been a challenge, but certainly a challenge that we've started to overcome as well.
That admission was part of a sit-down interview the Premier gave the CBC's Ian Fraze. We'll have more of the interview for you coming up in about 5 minutes after the weather forecast. We have an update for you now on a story about efforts to clean up a pile of rubble in Winnipeg's West End. The city has ordered the owners to remove debris from where an apartment building once stood. But as CBC's Cameron McLean reports, a dispute over insurance could delay the cleanup even more.
A fire destroyed this apartment building on Sherbrooke Street on Valentine's Day last year. The city of Winnipeg ordered the property owners to clean it up by February 15th, a full year after the fire. The city says the pile of rubble is a safety hazard. If the owner doesn't clean it up, the city says it might just do it itself and send the owner the bill. But Access Credit Union, which holds the mortgage on the property, appealed that order. In a letter, lawyer Douglas Grantham says the insurance company has questioned whether they will provide coverage to the property. The credit union and insurer are in negotiations. Grantham goes on to say they expect the problem will be resolved in the very near future, and then the cleanup of this property will proceed. He says the building is simply a pile of bricks and cement which are not in fear of collapse. The property is completely fenced in with no means of access permitted. The city councilor for the area doesn't accept that argument.
It is unsightly for the neighborhood, but not only that, it is a safety issue. When things are gated up and there's that much debris around there, there's lots of times rodents that live within that debris, and that can become a health and safety hazard. So we just really need to get that cleaned up.
Cindy Gilroy hopes to speed up that process. The Community Services Committee passed a motion today to ask the province to change the law, allowing it to add fines for derelict properties to property tax bills.
So by putting it on the property tax bills, we know that people are paying for that. And if they don't pay their property tax bills, after a while, the city can take that property over.
A hearing on the appeal of the cleanup order is set for Monday. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Winnipeg City Councilor is hoping to make the jump to federal politics. Sherry Rowland says she will seek the Liberal nomination in Winnipeg South Centre. The riding was held by Liberal MP Jim Carr, who died of cancer last month. Rowland says she was convinced to run by invitation she received from female supporters through the party's website. It was less than 3 months ago that she was elected to a second term as city councillor for Fort Rouge East Fort Garry. She says whether it's as a councillor or on Parliament Hill, she will continue to advocate for people here.
There's an agenda to bring forward on behalf of Winnipeg. And I've certainly been part of leveraging federal funds when it comes to homelessness. I've been part of a council that has leveraged federal funds for water and waste. This is of critical importance to Winnipeg now and in the future.
Jim Carr's son, Ben, has also said he may seek that Liberal nomination in his dad's riding. A date has not been set yet for a by-election. Joining the Brownies will soon no longer be an option for the 7- and 8-year-old girls in your life. By September, the Girl Guides of Canada will have officially changed the name of the group. It announced the new name today, Embers. It's hoping the change will let more girls from racialized communities feel welcome and join the group. Many girls and women who debated joining in the past had reported that the name Brownies was a barrier. Winnipeg hockey fans are gearing up tonight for an exciting night at the rink, not the Canada Life Centre, at the University of Manitoba. The Winnipeg Ice take on the Seattle Thunderbirds in less than an hour's time. And it's the only time these two top-ranked teams will meet during the regular season. CBC's Emily Brass joins us now from Wayne Fleming Arena at the University of Manitoba campus. Hello, Emily.
Well, the doors just opened at 6 o'clock, so the fans are starting to come in, a lot of them wearing their Winnipeg Ice jerseys. And so far, everyone I've spoken to here is super pumped about tonight's game. And here to tell us why is Brian Munns, a longtime sports announcer, and he speaks for the Winnipeg Ice. Hi, Brian.
How are you? Thanks for coming out tonight.
It's great to be here. So let's start with the players. What makes this Winnipeg Ice team so special?
Well, I think you take a look right now, it's the depth the organization's been able to build over the last few years, and then the trade deadline came to conclusion yesterday for all teams around Canadian junior hockey, and able to add a player like Zach Ostapchuk, who obviously is a gold medal winner at the World Junior Hockey Championship, has added a big buzz into the building for sure, and tonight's his Winnipeg debut.
All right, and of course, Seattle has a really big lineup too. What can we expect from tonight's game?
There's 1 point difference right now between these two teams. When you take a look overall at the CHL standings, Winnipeg's got them by just a fraction to this point, so we'll see if it comes on the ice here as well. But they have 4 players that played for Canada with Zach at the World Juniors as well. So I think that's added a lot. And you look at the first rounders that Winnipeg's been able to have on their roster. Carson Lambos from a couple years ago, Matthew Savoy, Connor Geekie. And then this year for the draft, Zach Benson's expected to be a top 10 player for NHL Central Scouting too. So very fortunate to have this kind of a caliber hockey club in our city.
So some big names out there on the ice. When we think about hockey in Winnipeg, often you hear people talking about the Jets, they're talking about Moose. What do you wish more people knew about the experience of a Winnipeg Ice game?
Well, I think as you see behind us here, we're an intimate building. You can put 2,000 people into the facility. You're only 10 rows away from the ice and the farthest location from it. And it's really getting families together. It's a great opportunity for the kids. I know my young guy is 11 years old and he's on the dance cam. He doesn't know what the score is, but he's excited if he has an opportunity to have a chance to be part of that, and it's all about making a fun night for the kids and obviously getting a chance to watch some elite players, because next year a lot of these players will be in the
Terry
NHL.
So this is a chance to see them early.
Tomorrow's stars today, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Anytime.
That was Brian Munns, who speaks for the Winnipeg Ice. The big game starts at 7, and if you can't make it tonight, the Winnipeg Ice will be back here in the rink on February 1st. Janet?
Thank you so much. That's our Emily Brass reporting live from the Wayne Fleming Arena at U of M. Weather specialist Fiona Odlum joins us now. Hello, Fiona.
Hello, Janet. Are you a stargazer?
I love the stars. Yes, I do.
Yes. Like, are you like full telescope?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no. Just
what you can see with your
ours.
eyes.
Yes.
Okay. This week, big week for you then, because you're not going to need a like binocular. Well, maybe binoculars might help you, but if you see a green ball in the sky, don't worry, aliens aren't coming. We have a really cool comet that we're going to be able to see starting tomorrow. And Janet, it has a weird name. I'm going to show you this, what the name is here. It's very robotic of a kind of name. It is called, wait for it, the Comet 2022 E3ZTF. Very technical name, but we're going to actually be able to start seeing this comet tomorrow. It's going to be its closest point towards the sunshine, toward the sun. So we shouldn't be able to see it too well, but as we go into February, we'll start to see it. It's only going to get brighter and brighter starting tomorrow. Right now, we're at -9 degrees with the wind chill. Feels like -17. We've had a really warm day. Lots of fog today as well, and really slushy streets here in Winnipeg. I have some stuff that's not going to make it better. We do have a bit of a risk right now. If we zoom in here to Winnipeg, we're going to see this little bit of a low coming in. It's really warm in Winnipeg. This low could transpire from snow into some freezing drizzle this early part of the evening. So that's going to be definitely on our radar. We're also going to be watching for fog developing once again. We're going to see lots of cloud cover through our Wednesday into Thursday. We're going to be continuing to see moments of sunshine that just disappear very quickly. So it's just going to be these quick little interludes and breaks of sunshine, but really lots of blanketing clouds still in Winnipeg and the surrounding area. We can see that we have a little bit of freezing rain that's going to come towards us again on Friday. So we're going to see these little moments as we warm up. As we get towards Sunday, we're going to look for temperatures around -1 degree. So you can see here, everyone's going to get a little dust of snow with the warmth that could translate into a bit of freezing rain. All right. Tonight at midnight, looking for -9 degrees, mostly cloudy. Again, with the fog rolling in this evening. I guess not rolling in, is developing. And we're going to see it lingering into the morning again, very similar to today, -10 degrees by 8 a.m. Hoping for some peaks of sunshine by lunchtime. Don't really hold your breath. But this is what we're looking for our 3-day into the weekend. We're almost there. -7 for Friday, -4 for Saturday, -1 on Sunday. With that -1, though, we will see a very foggy day ahead. It was not a foggy day when Holly took this amazing picture. This was right here in Winnipeg, Janet.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Fiona.
You're so welcome.
Well, as we mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, the CBC's Ian Fraze sat down with Premier Heather Stephenson today. They had a wide-ranging conversation. This was in lieu of the usual year-end interview, which had to be canceled because the Premier got sick. Here is some of their conversation.
In these divided times, being Premier can be a tough job. How are you handling it? What's it been like for you?
You know what? Look, there's been lots of challenges, there's no question, and in this role I knew getting into this that there would be some difficult times ahead, there's no question, but I'm just so incredibly proud of the team, of our team, and how many things that we've been able to accomplish in a very short period of time, and again, just kind of taking that collaborative approach, working with other levels of government. It's just been an amazing experience.
Yeah. What's been some of the toughest criticism you've received?
Well, I think it's. I think a lot of people maybe don't know who I am and what I'm achieving here in Manitoba. And I think, from a communication standpoint, we've got to work towards getting those messages out and all the things that we have achieved over this last year, which has been really exciting. I think a lot of people don't know about them though, and so we'll continue to work towards getting those messages out. And I think, once people see who I am, I genuinely love this province. I genuinely love the people who are here, and I want to do what's in their best interest. And that's just what I'm all about.
So how do you fix that then, to have more awareness about yourself and what your party has done?
Well, I think it's just getting out there. I mean, I've been out there quite a bit, I think, over the last year. I think, I'm sure you're probably getting sick of me too, Ian. But I've been out there quite a bit. And, I think it's just, again, doing more of that, getting out and visiting with Manitobans, working with them, listening to them, hearing what they want to achieve in the next little while. Of course, we couldn't do that during the pandemic, and so now it gives us that opportunity to get out there and visit with more Manitobans.
Given all the turmoil in the healthcare system over the last few years, why should Manitobans trust your party to fix it?
Well, I think we've said, first and foremost, we've put Manitoba patients first through our task force, our surgical and diagnostic task force, making sure that we are focused on getting people the surgical and diagnostic procedures that they need sooner. We recognize also that there's a human resources challenge. That's why we announced $200 million towards 2,000 more healthcare professionals working in the system in Manitoba. But we didn't, other provinces were able to increase the capacity within their provinces by contracting out with other services within the provinces in private clinics and so on. We didn't have the capacity here in Manitoba. So we're focusing on increasing that capacity. So rather than now when we're having to contract out those services with other provinces and some in the United States, we want to make sure we're keeping that here. But in the meantime, in the short term, the most important thing is that Manitobans are getting those surgeries that they need, and they're getting the diagnostic procedures that they need as soon as possible.
Are you saying you're putting patients first and your party is, and other parties will not?
So I'm saying, what I'm saying is that we are putting together, I think, a plan that is short, medium, long term to addressing the major challenges that are taking place. And we won't take an ideological approach when it comes to that. We will always put what is in the best interest of patients first to ensure that they get the health care that they need.
A December poll shows your party's popularity continuing to lag. Why do you think that is?
I don't put a lot of credence in polls, I will say. I think we've just come through 2 successful by-elections where we have 2 incredible new MLAs that have joined our team. So excited to move forward on that. I will continue to focus on what needs to be focused on, which is what is in the best interest of Manitobans when it comes to growing our economy, when it comes to ensuring the healthcare services are there, when it comes to ensuring that our downtown is safe, that our communities are safe right across our province. These are the things that we will continue to focus on. I'm not going to focus on numbers that are meaningless, frankly.
That's Manitoba's Premier Heather Stephenson speaking with CBC's Ian Fraze. That was just a portion of their conversation. You can watch the entire interview if you'd like on our CBC Manitoba YouTube page. Still ahead, the North American Leaders Summit in Mexico City has come to a close. Canada and Mexico say they won an important trade victory. We'll explain after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has wrapped up his visit to the North American Leaders Summit in Mexico City. He sat down for a one-on-one session with Mexico's President López Obrador. A key part of their discussion centered on energy. Both Canada and the United States have been pushing to participate in rebuilding Mexico's electrical grid. CBC's David Cochran has the details.
The Prime Minister offering the personal touch at an event to promote trade, speaking to Mexican business leaders about the merits of their continental partnership.
NAFTA was never a zero-sum game. It was always win, win, win.
Or, in some cases, win-win-lose. Mexico and Canada have won a trade dispute with the U.S., settling a disagreement over rules of origin for auto parts.
Our supply chains are deeply integrated. This is an important decision, and we're very pleased with the outcome.
Had the U.S. won, Canadian parts producers would be forced to use fewer components from Asia, driving up costs and making them less competitive, potentially costing them jobs and contracts.
Canadian automotive suppliers employ about 100,000 people here, and it's a very big relief for those people.
News of this ruling leaked in December, but it wasn't released publicly until now, one day after the U.S. president left the summit in Mexico City, avoiding an awkward setback for the president at a summit about working together. And so this summit ends with a shared victory for Canada and Mexico, one centered on the industry at the very heart of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement. David Cochran, CBC News, Mexico City.
Canada and the United States have also reached a deal that promises to clear up a major border backlog. The agreement is supposed to help speed up the interview process for the Nexus Trusted Traveler program.
Canada and the United States have agreed to significantly enhance the Nexus processing applications capacity by 50%. This is a win-win for Canada and the United States. It's good for Canadian travelers. It's good for the economy on both sides.
That's the Public Safety Minister making the announcement at the North American Leaders Summit in Mexico City last night. Canadian air travelers will be able to interview at Canadian Border Services offices near certain Canadian airports. Those applicants would then conduct a similar interview at U.S. Customs before boarding a flight to the U.S. Marco Mendicino says the new version of this program will accelerate clearing a backlog of about 100,000 Nexus applications. Planes are back in the air across the United States after they were grounded for hours this morning due to a computer system failure at the Federal Aviation Administration. The agency says departures resumed this morning, but delays and cancellations continue. The glitch has affected travelers here in Canada, too. CBC's Chris Reyes has a report now from New York City.
Sorry for all the inconvenience, but like I say, this is a nationwide issue. It's not just a local issue.
That announcement went out in every airport in the U.S. after the Federal Aviation Administration issued a nationwide ground stop during air travel rush hour. Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg says a critical system that alerts pilots of safety information went down at about 7 a.m.
For safety reasons, to make sure that every aircraft that took off was doing so safely, FAA implemented a ground stop lasting about an hour and a half.
It's yet another headache for travelers still recovering after massive delays and cancellations during the holiday season.
It's crazy. A lot of people out there that are struggling, so hopefully they can figure it out.
Well, it does make one wonder what would have happened. You would think that the FAA would have pretty solid computer systems, and this is kind of a surprise. I don't remember this ever happening before.
President Joe Biden says so far no evidence of a cyber attack.
We don't know. Okay, we'll find out.
At Pearson International in Toronto, passengers arrived after hours of delay from U.S. flights.
We're pretty tired and jet lagged, but I'm just happy to be back. It's nice being back home in Canada.
Our flight was supposed to leave at 6. We didn't leave until 9. Yeah, so we came from a 10 hours flight for a 3 hours wait for another 3 hours flight.
Secretary Buttigieg says the ground stop was done out of abundance of caution.
These kinds of disruptions should not happen, and my primary interest, now that we've gotten through the immediate disruptions of the morning, is understanding exactly how this was possible and exactly what steps are needed to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Transport Minister Omar Alghabra says Canada is watching the issue closely.
We're going to stay in coordination with our U.S. partners to understand what had happened and what can we do to avoid similar interruptions.
The FAA lifted the ground stop just after 9 a.m. and flights are returning to normal. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Food banks and other food support providers in Canada are bracing for a major increase in demand. A new report from the food rescue organization Second Harvest says food charities expect to see a 60% jump in need this year, and that's on top of the 134% increase they experienced in 2022.
A lot of people that are accessing food supports have jobs. These are families that just can't make it, and they could be two-parent families, and they have jobs. It's just minimum wage, even when you're working 2 jobs, is not enough to pay the rent.
Second Harvest says governments need to step in with more affordable housing and income supports. It says these kinds of programs would address the root problems that drive people to use food charities in the first place. The report is based on a cross-country survey of 1,300 food charities, including food banks, community groups, and schools. 70% of those organizations say they require more food donations and more funding. On average, Canada's food charities are forecasting budget shortfalls of $70,000 each for 2023. There's been a break in the rain in California. After the break, we'll show you how people took advantage of that to do some cleanup. And then our Fiona Odlum will be back with a look at our Manitoba forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. To the latest now on those terrible rainstorms in California. Officials say extreme weather and flooding has now resulted in the deaths of 17 people. That's more than the wildfires in the state over the past couple of years. Now, there was a break in the rain today, and people have been scrambling to clean up as much as they can before the storms return. CBC's Susanna De Silva is surveying some of the damage.
This backyard is an example of what many homes here around Santa Barbara experience. Here, it backs onto a creek here that normally is mostly pretty dry. But on Monday, that water started rising very, very rapidly. The homeowner said it was just coming up over and over, and she could see it rising up over that bridge, at which point she thought it was time to get out. And that water did continue. It flowed over, and it has since receded, but it has left all of this mud behind. The backyard portion there is still filled with water, still filled with mud, and that water just rushed in, quickly came out, leaving this damage behind. There's a home next door that has the suites underneath that had to be completely cleaned out because it's filled with water and mud. And it's the same story around this street, up and down the neighborhood. You see people shoveling shovel after shovel of mud that they are trying to get out of their homes. Now, officials here in Santa Barbara say improvements were made after deadly mudslides happened in nearby Montecito 5 years ago. So they say that helped prevent this from being widespread. But this is a situation being seen here and all over California, up in Northern California as well, as these unrelenting storms have come and hit the state. There is some hope on the horizon. There is a forecast that there should still be another couple of storms coming this weekend for this area, not as strong as what we have seen. And then after that, they may finally get a break to really begin doing the full cleanup and a full assessment of what happened. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, California.
Fiona Odlum joins us again. You were saying that the bad weather in California even impacted the Golden Globes last night.
Yeah, last night I caught up with the Golden Globes, and Kevin Costner couldn't attend. He won last night, but he was told he had to shelter in place and couldn't get down to where they have the award show. And so, yeah, it's really impacting people. And I mean, Ellen DeGeneres yesterday went to Instagram. Did you see that?
Yes, I did, with the water rushing through her property.
But yeah, it's intense.
And they think we have bad January weather.
Don't.
No, not this year.
We have a Bernese Mountain Dog named Penny in this next photo that is loving this forecast. This picture was sent to us by Tricia. Look at Penny here having a great time in LaSalle, loving it up there. Thank you so much, Tricia, for sending us this happy pupper pic. We always love those here on CBC Manitoba. All right, -9 in Eli. That seems to be pretty much the consensus around pretty mild temperatures in and around the Winnipeg area. As we expand out, it doesn't really change that much. We're looking for even warmer, though, as you go east. And that's where we saw that freezing drizzle today and about 2 centimeters of snow. -14 in Churchill and -13 at this hour in Gillam. Okay, well, what's happened here with my board? Let's see. Well, it just didn't decide to work there. No big deal. Sometimes I decide not to work too. We are going to watch for some snow. Now, keep a real close eye. This thing over here, this darker blue, this is a low that is going to start coming in, bringing in snow. Now, this is just for 24 hours, but you're going to see it's going to come in right along the border there with Nunavut. It is going to finally make its way towards Churchill, Gillam, Shamattawa in this range. It's going to sort of just kind of cut across just along the bay here. And we could see about 5 to 10 centimeters with this come Friday, but nothing too much in the next 24 hours. You're going to see blue popping up everywhere here. Doesn't really amount to a whole lot, but because of that warmth, we could see some freezing drizzle in there. Okay, fog is definitely a problem. Winkler currently sitting at 7.4 kilometers of visibility. Let's stop here in Winnipeg, 3.8. That's going to be in the early hours on Thursday. So we're going to be seeing this visibility as a problem on and off over the next couple of days, and it's only going to get worse by the time we get towards Sunday. So you can see that we still have these issues with the fog and the visibility for quite a while. It's all because of the mild temperatures. Now, we are going to see a bit of a wind picking up as we move, say, towards Friday. We're going to see right along here, boom, there she is. We're going to see those gusts into the 40s and 45 zone. I always like to add about 10 onto this board. So whatever you see, let's add 10 on there. So we could get into the 50s. Any loose snow is going to cause some visibility issues for us. All right. We're going to look for a chance of flurries tonight in Kenora, Red Lake, Dryden, and in the Fort Frances area. In that Dryden area, we could even see maybe, again, some freezing drizzle overnight tonight. What we're looking for in Winnipeg, in the surrounding area, we're going to watch for that risk of freezing drizzle tonight and fog patches. That's going to be our biggest concern through the central and southern portions of the province. We're looking for a chance of flurries through the northern reaches of the province and really, really mild, Janet.
Unless you're in Churchill, look at that, -25, Fiona.
It's way colder than that.
Thank you so much, Fiona.
You're welcome.
Nothing's gone wrong for music fans in 4 Manitoba communities. Sam Pauly, seen here with his band The Old Tomorrows, starts a short tour of Manitoba tonight with his famous father, the guy you saw as the barber a minute ago, Jim Cuddy. We talk with the two of them after the break. Jim Cuddy is one of Canada's best-known musicians. He's had decades of success with the band he co-founded, Blue Rodeo. Tonight in Flin Flon, he and his son, Sam Pauly, begin a string of 4 Manitoba shows, just the two of them. I spoke with them this afternoon. Jim Cuddy and Sam Pauly, thank you so much for joining us.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
You are truly giving our viewers a behind-the-scenes look of the glamour of being on the road as Canadian musicians. Joining us from the Victoria Inn in Flin Flon.
This is the way it is. Yeah. This is the way we live. We're not even together. He's next door.
Yeah, at least we don't have to. There may be 2 beds, but there's still 2 rooms, luckily.
He's next door.
Well, there's that at least. Now, this is the first time you guys have actually hit the stage together alone, just the two of you. Sam, how are you feeling about that?
Good. I mean, actually, the first time that I might have ever played in front of people, we only played together. At my high school's kind of fundraiser event, we sang a Beatles song, but the Steve Earle version. I'm looking through you, yeah. However, that was a long time ago, and I was definitely a lot more nervous then than this time through. It'll be interesting because we've never done something like this before, so it'll be fun to see how the show progresses, but not as nerve-wracking because we've done lots of shows together now, and generally with my brother Devin, and some others, but we're used to it.
So, Jim, for you, though, hitting the road with Sam for the first time, just the two of you on the road together, as a parent, what kind of opportunity is this?
Well, Sam's a good travel companion. He's, barring an hour or so in the morning, he's pretty lively and optimistic. So he's a lot of fun to travel with. He's good. Both my sons, our sons, are good pros. They know what they have to do to put on a good show. He has lots of songs. I think these shows will be sort of singer-songwriter, explain the songs a little bit, have a little chat, and as Sam said, we've done a lot of playing because we do a lot of charity work with his brother Devin and Lindsay, and we do a lot of work together. So we have played a lot together, but we haven't done this. And the unique thing about this is coming to places like Flin Flon. Yeah. I mean, this is the middle of January in Flin Flon, and that's not an opportunity everybody gets. And it's, we've only been here a few hours, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's fascinating.
It is. They have quite a community of people here that love it.
Yeah.
That moved here for one reason or another and stayed because they love it. And that just shows quite a positive community that is fun to join in.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually doing 4 shows in Manitoba this time around. Flin Flon's your first, then you're coming to Winnipeg, Minnedosa, and Killarney. Jim, what do you think you get out of playing small places that you might not get from bigger cities?
I think what happens mostly, when I'm touring with Blue Rodeo, we come to a place, we pretty much go to the venue or we go to the hotel, we do the show, then we travel at night in the bus. Obviously, the cities in Canada I know very well because I've been going for years. But the opportunity to go to smaller places and to see what surprises you about those places, what's great about those places, what's difficult about those places, and especially in the Canadian winter, because winter is a million different things across this country. So I always get something out of it that I don't know why, but I'm always surprised.
And Sam, you and your band, the Old Tomorrows, played Killarney back in July. What's your favorite memory of that experience?
We did. It was really cool. I mean, I love going to all of these new different places. I haven't been able yet to travel to as many as he has, so I'm starting to check them off the list. And Killarney was surprising because I wasn't sure first of all, I have to admit that I did think it was Killarney, Ontario until I looked up what the Turtle Mountain Arts Council was. And when I was looking at the map of the town, I was like, this is not Killarney, Ontario. I know what that looks like. So that was good. So then going there, we were there on a long weekend and it was packed. They have quite a lake kind of camping community there that was full on. So it was just fantastic to walk around this small, vibrant town in Manitoba, which is, I've only really been to Winnipeg before. So that was quite a fun experience. And I'm glad that we get to go back now in the winter to see kind of the differences between the 2 seasons in that little region there.
And is your grandmother still in Brandon?
No. It was your grandmother was born there.
My grandmother was lived there. I don't think that she was born.
She was born in Killarney.
She lived there. She was born in Killarney.
Born in Killarney, and then her family moved to Brandon.
Right.
And that's
okay.
where the Gauls live.
So there's a lot of Gauls, which is my grandmother's maiden name. There's a lot of Gauls in that area that we've seen over the years.
Well, forgive me for confusing you. You do kind of look alike, right? Father and son, just a little bit. Enjoy your time here. We're so glad you're here. What do you think this time together might do for your relationship or change for the way you play music together?
I think it'll be positive. Always seems to be positive, which is good. We like to have lots of laughs, so that continues to make it always fun.
Yeah. As long as I don't get in his face in that first hour of the day, I think it's going to be all great.
Guys, have a great time. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Your 7-day forecast and daily lift are still to come. We'll be right back. Hockey season's in full swing at rinks across the country, but some people face challenges getting into the game. The Canadian Blind Hockey Charity is one that provides hockey programming for young people who are blind and partially sighted across the country. It's run programs in Winnipeg and more than a dozen other cities. CBC's Pratush Dayal stopped by one in Saskatoon.
Isaiah Goatee wants to be like his hockey idols. he dreams of playing alongside Toronto Maple Leaf star Austin Matthews.
I want to become the blind hockey Gretzky.
The 9-year-old has severe visual impairment. He uses a cane to walk and braille to read. And now his mom Renelle says blind hockey to pursue his passion.
We want these opportunities for our kids so badly so that they have the opportunity to live their life to the fullest.
The Canadian Blind Hockey Learn to Skate and Try Blind Hockey program attracted 15 blind and visually impaired kids and their parents from Saskatoon. Players from the University of Saskatchewan Huskies hockey team assisted kids on the ice. Isaiah's dream comes true when he hits the puck and scores a few goals. It's a chance for Emma Crossan to learn how to skate so she can play hockey with her uncles.
It's very, very important to have, to be able to feel included into the sports. So it doesn't make her feel different compared to other kids who can see significantly better than her.
Huskies forward Aiden Bilge says it's fun for him too. His message to kids is that anything is possible.
It's their first time skating, and I mean, my first time skating, they're doing a lot better than I did. So I think just sticking with it and bringing a positive attitude and knowing that they can do this is important.
Shayla Stone says she often feels overwhelmed trying to teach her son how to skate. She's glad blind hockey has returned to Saskatoon after 9 years away.
To be able to go to a birthday party when they have a skating birthday party or being included on field trips and such things like that, kids know when they're not able to join or they miss out on things. So this is part of our culture, it's part of our community.
This event was a pilot project, but Canadian Blind Hockey wants to keep it going and expand to Regina.
There's a huge need in this community, right? Saskatchewan's a hockey province, right? So it only makes sense that we bring blind hockey to this province.
And as the pucks hit the goal and the program hits its mark too, parents and kids hope this pilot project becomes permanent. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Oh, great to see. What kind of weather are we going to have for hockey playing?
Well, we're going to have a foggy night tonight, and that's going to linger into tomorrow as well. We're looking for a mild day for our Thursday, and we're going to be watching for temperatures actually increasing and warming as we move towards Sunday. So -7 tomorrow, -7 for Friday. We get to -1 and a very foggy day for Sunday. And then we finally start to cool down a little bit, I think, Janet. Finally.
A little cool down.
A little cool down.
To sort of seasonal.
Yeah, hopefully. I want it cold.
You do?
I do. We'll talk.
We'll talk. Thank you for being with us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.